Hi and welcome to today's exciting tutorial. We are going to be working on what I'm calling the Groundkeeper's Hut. It is inspired by Hagrid's hut from Harry Potter, just so that you know where the inspiration for this design came from. One thing you're going to need is my pattern, Groundkeeper's Hut. Make sure that you go to my blog and pick that up. It is a free pattern, and there is, if you want it downloadable on a PDF, you can purchase a copy of that on Etsy, Ravelry, or my website. All right, what we're gonna need for this tutorial today is I love this yarn, Stonewash in dark gray. You can use any number 4 worsted weight yarn for this. I know that there's a lot of different brands out there that do kind of a Stonewash or have a flecking in them. Even something in a tweed would be cute as well. Just something that makes it kind of earthy and maybe stone-ish, gray, brown, anything like that. So that's what I'm going to be using today. You are going to need, now we're going to be working on the base, and you are going to need at least 5 ounces of this yarn. So this is a 5-ounce skein. We're going to be using almost this whole thing. That's going to include our base as well as our walls. All right. Okay, so the other things that you're going to need is obviously a needle for sewing in ends. You're going to need a Sharpie marker or something to mark plastic canvas with. You can use any color plastic canvas you want. I just pulled mine out from my stash. I've got black, red, and then I've got a clear here. And these are like a 7 mesh. They're kind of on the firmer end. They're not flippy floppy. You want something that's going to hold up when you use it. You're going to need at least a piece that is about 7 inches wide. I'm probably going to be cutting off of all of these. If you were to get, say, a full either 10.5 by 13, I think it is, or a 12 by 18. This is the one that I cut my original pieces off of, and this is what I used off of it. So this was a 12 by 18 piece of 7 mesh plastic canvas. This is the bottom piece that I cut out, and these were the 2 wall supports that I cut out over here. And I didn't have enough for this tutorial, so I just dug in my stash. So you can really, you know, if you've got stuff laying around, you can use whatever you've got. But we are going to have to use plastic canvas to add some stability to this today. You're going to want a ruler so that you can measure your pieces out. And then also some yarn scissors. You're going to need some hefty scissors for cutting your plastic canvas, and a number 7 4.5 millimeter hook. All right, let's go ahead and get our stuff together and get started. All right, let's get going. So I'm starting with my gray number 4 worsted weight yarn and my 7 4.5 millimeter hook, and I'm going to start with a magic ring. And I'm going to put 6 single crochets into that magic ring. 2. Go ahead and snug that up. We're going to make 2 of these today, because what we're going to do is sandwich a piece of plastic canvas between them to add stability to our bottom pieces. All right, so we are going to not be joining as we go around. We're going to treat this as crocheting in the round. And so we're just going to go right into that first single crochet over here. We're going to put 2 single crochets into that and each of the single crochets going around. So this is an increase row. They're all going to be increase rows, but let's just stop real quick. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 on here. To make my life easier, I'm going to, and you can use anything. You can use a safety pin, you can use an extra piece of yarn, whatever, or if you've got a stitch marker, put a stitch marker right there. This is going to mark your first stitch so that it is not a nightmare when you go back to try and find it. Actually, I think I just, there we go. Now I've got the right stitch. All right, first stitch is marked. That always helps me to know where my next row begins. And I'm just catching up this yarn into my stitches as I go around. So 2 stitches in each of your single crochets. This takes us back to our first single crochet. So now we're on to round 3, which we are going to single crochet into the first, and we're going to 2 single crochet into the next. And that's what we're going to repeat going around, is single crochet in 1 and then an increase. And an increase is always 2 single crochets in the same. So do a single and an increase. And a single and an increase. In the pattern, there are stitch counts made available for you, just in case I don't shout these out, because I don't always think of it as I'm going. But you should have 18 stitches after this round. Your first round is going to be 6. Your second is going to be 12. Your third is going to be 18. All right, so as we go on this and work in the circle, our stitch is going to actually continue to shift over to the right. So when we're counting in the round, this is where we started. So this stitch right here is the beginning of round number 3. And I'm going to mark that stitch as I move on to round number 4. So round number 4 is single crochet into 2 and then an increase. So 1, 2, and then an increase. One, 2, and an increase. All right, I'm going to keep going. You finish up this round and you'll have 24 at the end of it. All right, let's go ahead and, oops, I got ahead of myself here. Let's go ahead and start on round 5, which is going to be single crocheting into 3 and then an increase. And as we look at this, as we're going around, we're going to be increasing by 1 stitch in between each of our increase stitches. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and then increase. And then 1, 2, 3, and increase. And you'll notice that the last round we did was just 2 stitches in between our increases. Our next row is going to be 4 stitches in between our increases. So it's going to continue on that way throughout each of these base pieces. And 1, 2, 3, increase. All right, let's do that last one. 1, 2, 3, and increase. All right, so now we're at the beginning. Remember I said that our stitches are going to curve to the right. So that marks my 5th round. All right, I'm going to do one more round with you because each of these rows is going to basically remain the same as we're increasing along. Each one of them is going to increase by 1 stitch in between your increase stitches. And we are going to do 14 rounds of this. So by the time that you get to the end, we're going to be have an increase of 12 stitches and then your increase, all right? And you should have 84 single crochets by the time that you hit round 14. But right now we are on round 6. So we're going to put 4 single crochets and then our increase. 1, 2, 3, 4, and our increase. Let's do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and our increase. Alrighty. So here's where I'm going to let you fly, little bird. Go ahead and finish up this round, and then go ahead and continue following the written pattern until you reach round 14. Round 14, like I said, is going to be single crochet in 12, and I'm going to just show you that here. Single crochet in 12, increase by round 14, all right? And that's all the bigger we're going to make these pieces. I'll be back here after I finish the first side. All right, I have reached the end of round 14, And I have 12 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then there's my increase. And I slip stitched to my first stitch, and I haven't cut it off, but I'm going to do that right now. And you don't need to leave a real long end. So now that I've got this first one made, now don't worry if it's a little bit curly on the edges like mine is. When we put them together, we're going to single crochet around the edges, and it's going to make everything lay nice and flat. All right, so go ahead and make a second one of these. I'll be back after my second one is over, and we'll put them together and work on our plastic canvas. All right, both pieces have been made. We've completed. Don't cut off. Leave this attached. We are going to use our other piece right now to cut our plastic canvas. So go ahead and grab your plastic canvas and meet me back here with your Sharpie. All right, I've got my plastic canvas. This is an old piece. It has some color transfer from something it shared in a box, but that's not a big deal. It's old, it's going in between, it's never gonna be seen. So don't throw away those old pieces. Make sure that you use up everything that you have. So I am going to be laying this out. We're kind of trying to, I'm using one of my flat edges because we made a hexagon. So I'm using one of my flat edges on the edge here. And then I'm going to just take my Sharpie and I'm going to mark the edges. It doesn't, if you're using dark gray, if you get a little bit of marker on there, it's not going to kill it. I'm just kind of using my marker to mark around the edge of my hexagon here. Now, I'm not meaning that you should, you know, color in your hexagon, but you know what I mean. If a little bit gets on there, it won't hurt anything. And I'm just doing this so that I can get a rough idea of the shape I need to cut out. All right, now we're going to cut inside this line on this side of it as opposed to this side of it, because this is what we did is we used the outer edge. We're going to need to make sure that this fits inside probably these rows as opposed to outside of it. So go ahead and get your scissors and start cutting inside. I'll see you back here when I get mine cut out. Now this piece does not have to be perfect by any stretch of the imagination. So what we're going to do is, I'm just going to trim off the edges, but I'm going to come over here and I'm going to mark the spots that really kind of hang over. So this part may be a little bit of a process, but when I get everything trimmed up and cut off of here, this will fit right inside my hexagon here. Now you can actually find, I was on the Hobby Lobby website, and you can actually find like a 5x6, sorry about that, a 5x6. And so this is 6 by 6 3/4 to 7. And I believe that there is one that you can find that is so tip to tip would be 6 by 5.5. So if you don't want to shape your own plastic canvas, you can find a piece that's roughly, let's see, this is, yeah, 6 by about 6.5 is what I'm going to cut my piece to. And that would slide right inside there. It'd be a little bit smaller than what we're making, but it would still work just fine. All right, it fits inside here. I've trimmed it up. There's every good possibility that when we start crocheting this together and we try to slide this in, it might need a little bit more refinement. But for now, we've got our piece, and I'm just going to set that aside. Now we are going to put our wrong sides together. So this would be the right side of your work. This is going to be the wrong side of your work. And I am going to match up the best that I can, starting at, we finished with an increase. So I'm going to start my row here at a non-increase stitch. So when I look at this one, I'm going to want to start add a non-increase stitch over here as well. It'll help to match up our stitches the best and have everybody line up where they need to be. So working through both thicknesses with our wrong sides together, we're going to single crochet around. So we're going to go into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then we are going to put 2 single crochets into each of the next 2 single crochets. So on the front side, you should be at an increase, and on the back side, you should also be at an increase. So over the next 2 stitches, still working through both thicknesses, we're going to put 1, 2, and then 1, 2. That's going to be our repeat around. We're going to work through both thicknesses, go through 12, and then put 2 single crochets or increases into the next 2 stitches. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then 2 stitches and 2 stitches. All right, I'm going to do that one more time, and I'll come back when I get this one side done. All right, and now that I've got 3 sides done, I'm going to take my piece of plastic canvas and I'm going to slide it in here, trying to match up my edges the best that I can. So yeah, it looks like it fits down in there quite nicely. I'm going to be able to work the remaining parts of these edge stitches without any problems. The one thing that you don't want to do is have it hanging too far over or out this way, because if it does, then you're going to fight getting the rest of these stitches in. So it's going to be a little bit awkward because it's going to be stiff, but now we're going to continue with working through both thicknesses and into 12 stitches. Don't skip any on either side. And then the 2 increases, one right after the other on the corner. Go ahead and finish this up. I'll meet you over here. Don't cut off. Okay, and once you've finished putting both sides together, go ahead and slip stitch to join. And then you can cut, I'm going to cut here, but I'm also going to cut a small piece off real quick, and I'll show you what that's for in just a minute. All right, grab your long-eyed needle, and what we're going to do is we're going to quick tighten up the center of this. Now, you can see that both sides kind of poke out a little bit in the center. And so I'm going to go up through the bottom, because this what was facing us is going to be considered the right side. And I'm just going to throw this in there just to mark it. Now, it doesn't really matter which side you pull from, which side you stick it in. We're just going to go up through the center like so, and down through the middle. And pop up on the other side at the middle. I'm going to quick tie that down. This isn't real super fancy. All I'm doing is just pulling this and making a knot in there so that it's nice and tight. Now, you can go ahead and weave in your ends. This is actually going to be to the inside of the house. And you won't see it, but I try to make it look nice anyway. And then go ahead and just tuck in your ends. I'm going to finish this up. I'll be right back. All right, top and bottom is completed. We've gotten it snugged up so it's nice and tight up against. You should be able to move it, but it shouldn't feel loose. You shouldn't have lots of fabric hanging over the edge. We're going to actually start on the sides of our house now. Go ahead and grab your gray again and your hook. I'll be right back.